Hello, I'm Joseph Fleischman, Executive Chef at Meritus Medical Center in Hagerstown, Maryland. A question I'm frequently asked is, how can I stretch my food dollar? One easy and inexpensive way to do that is to buy in bulk. Today, I'm going to show you how to take a pork tenderloin and cut it down for use over the course of the next couple months. For about $20, you can get a nice piece of meat that will feed you and your family for 3, 4, 5 different meals. It can be cut up whenever you come home from the grocery store. You can freeze portions, and you can keep some portions out that you're going to use for the upcoming week. There are two distinct ends to our pork loin. One is the end that I like to say we're going to cut roasts out of. As you can see, there are two distinct colors here. One a little bit lighter, which is the eye, and one a little bit darker. There's also some connective tissue in here. Now, what the connective tissue and fat in here is going to do when we do our roast, it's going to help to keep our meat nice and moist. So what we're going to do, take our boning knife. Again, this pork has no bones, so we don't have to worry about doing that. And there we go. As quickly as one simple slice, we have our first pork roast. And we're going to set that to the side. The next thing we're going to do when we still have our two distinctly colored meats down on this end is we're going to cut our stew cubes. I want to cut up probably about a 1-pound section here. 1 pound of stew cubes. We usually feed, 3 to 4 people if we do them in a stir fry. I'm going to cut these into about a 1-inch dice. We want to try to keep them as uniform as possible. They'll cook evenly when we do that. We don't want to have one that's completely done and one that is not done. And it'll also help them cook quickly if we cut them into 1-inch dice. We have our stew cubes done, which leaves us the remainder of our pork tenderloin, which we like to call the chop end, because obviously we cut pork chops from it. Now, average pork chop, I usually like to cut anywhere from 4 to 5 ounces. It's a good median size. A 3-ounce portion of pork tenderloin has about the same nutritional value as a 3-ounce chicken breast, so it's certainly very healthy for you. USDA guidelines classifies it as an extra lean meat, meaning it has less than 5 grams of fat per serving, so it's certainly good for you. The one thing I will do is remove what we call the chain, which is off the end of the pork tenderloin. This basically is just fatty tissue that we do not need. Now, flip your pork tenderloin over, put the fat cap on the bottom. The fat cap is a little bit more difficult to get through than the actual fleshy part of the loin itself, so we want to put that down so we have a nice cut into the loin before we get to that fat cap. It's going to make it a lot easier to slice. So here we go. And again, we're going to do a pork tenderloin chop somewhere in the 4 to 5 ounce range. There we go. Beautiful pork chop right there. And we're going to cut a fair number of these. These are usually what most people use at home. Again, freeze them in packs of 2, 4, or if you are by yourself, this certainly will apply to you. Cut them up, freeze them one at a time. You might get anywhere from 8 to 10 pork chops out of this loin. So if you are a single individual or cooking for one, this particular loin may last you up to 3 or 4 months, depending on how many pork chops it is that you like to eat. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and slice these off quickly. And again, like I said, I left the fat on. What I like, if we're going to throw these on the grill, the fat will drip a little bit. It'll make a little flame, which we don't want much of, but a little flame really helps with the smokiness of the pork chop. If you don't like the fat cap, when you thaw them out, simply slice it off. It makes it nice and simple. Okay. Now we're going to take the remaining, I would call it about a pound, pound and a half, and we're going to slice it a little bit thinner into scallopini. For this one, I do recommend trimming the fat cap off. When we make our scallopini, when we pound it, basically what a scallopini is a small cut of meat that's pounded flat. You can flour it, pan fry it to use it for schnitzel and things like that. I would recommend leaving the fat cap on when we're doing our pork chops, because if you like to grill, and I certainly do, a little bit of fat on your pork chop is going to help it create a little sizzle, and it's going to give it some nice flavor, and it's going to help with the smokiness. But our pork tenderloin or our pork scallopini, we'll go ahead and cut the fat cap off. When we break down the pork tenderloin, what we're going to use in the next day or so, we will keep out. And we'll keep it refrigerated. Everything else we'll put in Ziploc freezer bags. We'll label it, we'll date it with exactly what it is, and we'll pull it out as we need it. So at a 7 to 9 pound roast, we have 4 distinct different cuts of pork we can use. And we're going to be able to use these for probably 4 to 5 different meals and all that for about less than $20. So that is one way to stretch your food dollar.